Welcome again to our Hot Topics Hub, brief conversations about critical content relevant to mid-market chief executives. Have a watch and tell me what you think. So today we're talking about the entire chain of online service delivery from soup to nuts. If we start at the beginning of that process and talk a bit about online purchasing and how that's changed, particularly in the B2B space, particularly in the mid-market, who's got some comments about this?
We're currently working with lots of interesting B2B clients who've moved into the e-commerce space. Many have been catapulted into that space via COVID because they were used to people coming in and buying things over the counter from them in trade stands, trade shops, and now actually they need to trade online. So we've seen a huge increase in the number of Freeman Clarke B2B clients moving into an e-commerce scenario.
And whereas B2C e-commerce has become quite normalized, B2B e-commerce is still quite a challenge for many organizations, and there has been a barrier of acceptance of this as being normal. But an awful lot of B2B transactions have moved online during the course of the pandemic. And a lot of things that people thought were never going to happen are now entirely normal. But it doesn't just stop with the purchase. It goes to the services beyond those. Who's got some experience of how B2B services have changed post-purchase?
I think in one of the instances, a client that I'm working with is seeing just that, right? In that the move from providing a set of products and capabilities out to its marketplace, which is pretty well defined, it's pretty solid. There's not been a huge amount of excitement in that market for a number of years, but the touch point and the frequency of the touch point is what's changed, in my opinion. So the idea that you can now much more regularly, much more frequently, and at significantly lower cost, deliver information into your customer base about upcoming trends, upcoming pieces of equipment that you're going to make available to them, an upcoming capability around asset tracking and how you can add value post the acquisition of that piece of technology, then these become, I think, interesting differences in those conversations, because the cost associated with doing it has dropped dramatically, the acceptance has gone up enormously, and the ability for you to add value in other ways. And I know, Christine, you were talking about this earlier, maybe you could sort of jump in on this. That actually is a direction of travel that we really should be exploring with our boards. And we have the skills and capabilities to do that.
Just following on from that, yeah, there's great opportunities where we actually have clients who sell a very specific product and then are able to provide servicing for that product. What they can provide above and beyond that now is tracking and management of the servicing of that product, providing a complete asset history. And should it be required further down the line, should there be some sort of safety incident, they can actually track back the history of that precise component, where it was purchased, when it was purchased, all through our customers' systems. It adds a layer of value that we couldn't have even have contemplated until recently, and makes a huge difference to our clients who perhaps don't have the back office functionality or the back office staff to maintain that level of data integrity that is absolutely essential. And sometimes that is a regulatory requirement that our customers need to provide that level of detail.
One of our clients is a digital printing capability, and COVID has accelerated their move online, not only for the placement of orders, but then for the continual refining of what's going to be printed. Previously, multiple copies going backwards and forwards between client and customer would take a huge amount of time. We've got to the point now with their online capabilities that we've drastically reduced the time scale, increased the accuracy, and cut the costs for the end customer of the product that they're getting, which has been great for them and great for our client, as they've driven growth now at about 20% per year, beating a number of their competitors.
We were talking about the fact that in some ways this splits into two halves, depending on the customer profile. That where a business has got corporate clients, it's all about integrating with their systems and providing stickiness and value. Where a company has got smaller clients, then it's all about providing those smaller clients or mid-sized clients with access to systems and data provided by the vendor that they wouldn't be able to support themselves.
If we pick up on where our clients are trading with corporate clients, I think there's a really important piece here, which is that often these corporate clients set a very high bar. If you wish to trade with them, then you are going to have to meet these requirements. And that is where quite often we do get heavily involved. And I had a recent client who was dependent upon quite a substantial organisation for approximately 50% of their business. and they retendered that piece of business and gave the poor IT manager a list of things and requirements that he needed to do the length of his arm. And he really had no idea where to start. And at that point, they invited Freeman Clarke to go in and say, okay, number one, how do we respond to the tender? They're asking all these questions of us that we haven't seen before. And number two, how do we then make sure that we can meet those requirements, assuming that we re-win this piece of business? And that was exactly something we were able to help them do. They did re-win the piece of business, and then we helped them put all the requirements into place so they could tick all the boxes confidently with that major corporate client that represented 50% of their revenues.
Yeah, because often it's partly about integrating systems, but what flows from that are a whole set of compliance, security, uptime requirements. If you integrate your systems into a critical part of another company's systems, then you've got a set of liabilities and a set of expectations about how your systems are going to perform.
Exactly that.
100%.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It can be a barrier to entry if you don't do it right. And Christine's point is perfectly well made. You look at the IT teams that many of our customers have, they are very used to the day-to-day operational nature of IT. What we bring as Freeman Clarke practitioners is a strategy, a vision, and the experience to be able to implement that. And so, Christine, to your point, when you're presented with a set of questions that you've never seen before, with numbers and letters that are potentially meaningless to you, right? It's then, down to somebody in the IT department, or whatever you want to call it, to actually go decipher that, actually make sense of how you respond to the tender. And if there are changes in systems and processes that need to be put in place, it's an experienced set of hands and eyes that we typically bring that will have seen this before or seen things that are similar to it, and therefore can guide and advise on how best to fit and answer the questions that were directed at you, right? So I think it's that additional layer of capability on top of a perfectly functioning IT department, but which has never been presented with that level of sort of question and detail before, right?
And it's commercial expertise and acumen.
Right.
The IT department isn't designed to be there to win new business, whereas an experienced IT director or CTO knows what it's like to work with a board, and that a key part of their role is to help them win new business and work with new clients.
In the integrating with large corporate clients, the threat landscape for that corporate client has just expanded by connecting to a mid-market supplier. And so Christine had mentioned the security and auditability. That threat landscape's widened, so they will then expect that supplier to adhere to their level of standards. And absolutely, Freeman Clarke, we bring the expertise that's needed to help those mid-market clients play in that league. Understand what's needed, put it in place, augment the existing team, but not go over the top. There's an appropriate level of security and risk management needed. We know how to find that spot with our clients.
Now, we were also saying strategically, this raises an interesting question because it reshapes the issue of how your systems are internally structured from how you've always done things and your traditional internal operations, and in some ways repositions this question of your internal systems as being, what is it our customers need? Now, theoretically, from a strategy point of view, you might always have asked that, but it might have been something of a theoretical question. Whereas now, all of a sudden, that's the real question. What do our customers need, and can our systems support that?
Well, I think what has brought about that fundamental change in thinking is that for the last however many 20 to 30 years, the systems have been used internally by our own staff to perform a job function. And now the whole world has changed, and actually our customers are using our systems. Our customers want to order themselves, they want to arrange a service themselves, they want a portal, they want to track things, they want to see where things are up to. Then historically, they want to go back and track data and information. So actually, our systems are no longer for our staff, our systems are actually for our customers.
Yeah, the other thing that comes with that is the capability that exists now to deliver it. Because the idea that historically we would have made a big capital investment in equipment, amortized it, then bought more, that's the history of IT procurement over the past 20 or 30 years. And what moving to the cloud allows customers to do is, one, create environments that they can develop new capabilities in very quickly, two, pay for just what they need, and three, actually, and Mike, you were talking about this earlier, the integration between the systems that are, inherently, if you will, born in the cloud versus ones that sit traditionally in a different structure, it's just a different world out there. It's so much more open, right? And that means the value's not in the data per se, it's in what you do with it, right?
Yes, what you do with it and the innovation that you can drive, given the move to the cloud, given the fact that you can start things up much more quickly, helping our clients innovate at a lower cost point, a lower risk point. We can try 2 or 3 things and discard 1 or 2 of them and find the right thing to do quite quickly and with low risk. And yes, taking the data, the insights that they have, and then delivering them in an innovative fashion that demonstrates the entire value chain that a client of ours could deliver to their customers. As in the case of several of my clients now, we've been able to open up whole new marketplaces using their core capabilities, but addressed to a different market.
And so that, I guess, is what it really comes down to, is helping our clients to open new markets or to position their products and services in a way that's not just about price.
Very much so, not about price. I think that's the key. If you get to a conversation about price, then it's a dash for who can do it cheapest.
Yeah.
We always want to be looking to our clients to help them deliver value. Price comes second, I would argue.
It allows them to put price second. They deliver more value than the next guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having said then that actually a system strategy should be all about what clients need, Nigel, you were making a very interesting point before, which is that maybe system strategy should also be focused in terms of what your own people need.
Yeah, so I think, this would be a fair comment that every single person watching this will have talked about, which is the attraction and retention of staff. Because, as we put in place hybrid working policies and, again, Freeman Clarke practitioners absolutely helped our customers deliver on that to make sure that the businesses that we serve could continue to function. But as you come out of that and it becomes now an accepted working practice, then the tools and capabilities that you give to your customers, which are very analogous to the tools and capabilities you give your employees, I think the debate we were having was, why should they not be seen as equal? Because if the biggest problem you're trying to solve from a people perspective is attracting and retaining talent, then the very same thinking that you apply to reaching out to your customers, I think you should also be looking to your own employee base. Because if you equip those individuals with the right tools and capabilities, 1, they will be more productive, 2, they will probably be more loyal, and 3, they actually drive a happy customer experience. But you focus on the employee as much as you do on the customer themselves. That was the interesting debate that I think we were having.
I think the changing workforce, moving into the millennials, their expectations of what an employer will provide to them in terms of systems and the kind of processes, they don't expect to be using paper systems to book holiday or log sickness. They expect everything to be delivered to them online and through some sort of HR portal. And that's become absolutely the norm and is a regular thing that Freeman Clarke help their clients do.
I would add to that, yes, one of my clients who has very highly paid consultants that provide a consultancy service as one of their services. We've looked to drive down the amount of work that those expensive people who are billed out on a daily basis are spending on internal activities that don't add value to the clients. And that's been the sort of mantra that I've been pushing with the client, and they've absolutely bought into, is these folks need to be out with our clients doing a good job. Everything else that can be done by a computer should be done automatically. And if it can't be done by a computer, it's done very quickly by someone entering whatever they need to enter.
The law firm that I work for in the legal world, particularly in the UK, everything is measured in 6-minute increments. Every 6 minutes, somebody should be billing somebody for something, right? So one of the tasks we undertook was to save 12 minutes a day. So what could we do in process and administration, in taking systems that have been paper-based or Excel-based and moving them to online? Could we find 12 minutes a day for every employee? And I'm glad to say that we have been able to do that. We've now been challenged with finding another 6. So we've now got to find 18 minutes a day. But you can draw that straight to the bottom line. That equates to time and money saved. And
it may not sound like much, but in that kind of business, that's transformation.
That absolutely is transformation. But the premise was save me 12 minutes a day.
I think, Mike, your point about doing a good job is a really interesting one, because in all my years in work, almost everyone I've met fundamentally wants to do a good job. Mm. And there is nothing more demotivating, nothing more likely to leave someone to leave they're not giving them the tools to be able to do a good job. So I think there's a lot to be said, particularly in the current climate where recruitment is so hard. There's a lot to be said for giving people tools and systems which allow them to just do a good job for their customers.
I would add to that, my approach to leadership through all the years has been to hopefully employ the best people I can and then create the environment for them to be successful. So that would include systems and processes, but culture, the right interesting work to do, the right level of challenge and opportunities for advancement, all of those things that create an environment for success. And absolutely in our clients, that's what we try and help them do. One of those things, yes, is systems and processes. And right, as we've migrated over into the millennial generation now, they have much better tech in their hands than quite a lot of organizations have inside them. And so when they join an organization, they look at what's going on, then they look at what's in their hand already on their phone, and they furrow their brows. And so part of our role is to help our clients get to a point where they're not furrowing people's brows.
Okay, that's been really interesting. Thank you all very much indeed.